my question was, I think that the same like you, why this Real Madrid doesn't do what they did in the last 20 minutes when they were with 10 men. That's a question that I still don't understand, because we were talking just before the game. These are Celta Vigo. They know how to play. They don't fear with the pressure, but you can hurt them if you press them because they make mistakes at the back. But there's no intention, no determination, no energy from Real Madrid until you are behind the score and you are with one man down. And then you can see that Vinicius Junior pressing, Jude Bellingham pressing, everyone pressing around. So that's something that I will question myself if I'm in the dressing room, and I'm sure that Xavi needs to continue working on that, because it doesn't matter what idea, what shape, what structure you got. If the energy and mentality of trying to win the game from the very beginning is not there, there's no chance that you win games.
What's going on, Craig?
There's been one good performance in 5 games. That's obviously where the W is. Athletic Club, who have been easy to play against for the most part. But to be fair, Real Madrid did play well in that game in Bilbao. The rest of the games, the draws, not. Maybe Vallecano, you could give them somewhat of a pass. Elche, no. Girona, no. And this is definitely a no. They're playing Manchester City in midweek in the Champions League, who are a goal-scoring machine at the moment. Can't defend very well, to be honest with you. They're not very good defensively. They were 5-1 up at Fulham and almost threw that away. But they're scoring goals for fun. You know, Foden, Cherki, you know, Erling Haaland, all these attacking players with skill and guile. I would be worried, but I would be sleeping badly if I was Xabi Alonso between now and that game, because I think if City were to wallop them, and I mean something that's kind of embarrassing, and listen, if Celta Vigo can beat them today, and let's not just say that it was 9 men, and it was because they were down to 10 and then down to 9. Real Madrid were not good at all with 11 for long periods. But if all these teams we saw in the graphic and others can create all these chances against them and take points off them and beat them, what if City turn up and they're really in the mood? I mean, they could take this Real, and bear in mind, they've got suspensions coming up. Okay, it might not be for that competition, but they've got suspensions, they've got all these injuries, they've lost Militao, they've got Erling Haaland rolling into town. If I was Xabi Alonso, I would be absolutely panicking about what the midweek was going to hold for me.
We don't know who's going to play on the right side, but Doku is going to be there. Doku is real threat, and that's going to be very interesting to see how they can cope with that. But I'm with Craig. 11 against 11, we didn't see Real Madrid. They were slow, no energy, no intensity whatsoever. And it's only when they were 10 against 11 where they started to urge their game that they appear to be dangerous. And that's the way they have to play. With the player that they have at front, put the ball behind the defense in the space. And with Mbappe, with Vinicius Junior, you can make the difference. Stop thinking the game. Stop trying to find the right solution like tiki-taka things, which was successful before, but it's not anymore. Stop that. You know, it's when you get crazy that you are the best. And they're not doing that until they have to urge.
Year after year, Luis, one thing we see, whichever team it is the Real Madrid are always capable of that comeback, but it doesn't even smell that they have that in their locker at the moment. You don't actually believe that when they're going down in games like this right now that they're going to come back, and today obviously they didn't.
Yeah, because in the end you got short at some points. We talked about during the season that Real Madrid's got so much talent up front that it doesn't matter if you play good or not. In the end, you know that you're going to create chances, you're going to score goals. And at some point today, you could see that even with 10 men, I think it was Kylian Mbappe got that ball over the keeper. He could have scored the equalizer. But in the end, you know that at some point, you know it's not going to be enough. And when you play against a team that is well organized, who has got an idea how to build up from the back, and you can see Celta Vigo. But it was the same with Elche, it was the same with Girona, it was the same with Rayo Vallecano. These are probably 3 or 4 of the best teams that play in La Liga. With the ball, with the pressure, with personality on the field, and Real Madrid struggle. Against a team like Athletic Club de Bilbao, that you need to bring the intensity, that you need to bring the fight. Real Madrid did, and cope with that. They matched that intensity, and then the talent was right there, and why they won the game. Today, away, the intensity wasn't there, and then you start playing slow and you allowed Celta Vigo to get back together, low block and very easy to defend because there's no spaces for Kylian Mbappe or Vinicius Junior. In the second half, with a little bit more space, you create a couple of chances, but again, they got short. And against teams like this one, if the season continues like this, with the injuries, with the suspension, that is going to be Frank García for the next one, Alvaro Carreras as well. I think it was Ceballos who was sent off when he was on the bench. So between the injuries and send-off, I think Real Madrid is going to struggle just to build an 11 starter for the next coming games in La Liga.
There's obviously the boys who got themselves sent off. Is there anyone that stands out to you that particularly underperformed for Real Madrid today?
Well, I mean, once again, remind me something that Bellingham did in the game that stands out. I can't.
He did a lot of that.
Vinicius Junior again, you know, diving pretty much at the end, looking for penalties or free kicks right on the edge of the box. Mbappe didn't get a lot of service. We saw that really good strike from Valverde at the start of the second half, but no, I mean,
Everybody, in fact, was.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much everybody underperformed, and the stories that will come out will be not only about the results, but about the manager unable to have discipline in the dressing room, players making, you know, stupid decisions, red cards, and lack of discipline, and all these things will come back to haunt Xabi Alonso. And I go back to it. The last thing you want is another home game against one of the most attacking teams in European football. Because what does Florentino Perez do if he thinks that this is too much for Xabi Alonso, but he's going to give him a little bit more time, a little bit more rope, and then City stroll into town, and listen, this might not happen, but City stroll into town and they score 3 or 4, which they can easily do against anybody, particularly when you've had as many problems as Alonso has. What does the president do coming into the winter break, which is approaching fast? The second half of the season is going to be hugely important. So this now is going to be what looked like was going to be the end of a good week for Xabi Alonso after the game against Athletic Club has turned into another nightmare.
The things I just want to go, because we talk, obviously we always talk offensively when we talk about Real Madrid and what they were incapable of doing today. But defensively, that's a real nightmare. Nobody defends properly. They're always late. They always start one after one, not as a unit. That was insane in the first half.
Can you put any of this down to the fact that there are injuries and that they are obtaining things
Of course, but you know, I mean, when Militao is injured, it's Rudiger coming on. You know, that's not a random player. That's an international Champions League winner player, and he did better than the others. Asensio, I thought Asensio will go and will have a fantastic career, and we can see that he's dropping a little bit. Yes, Tchouaméni or Camavinga didn't play, and that was maybe something I would have loved to see. But Tchouaméni wasn't good today. But like Carrera and any other, they always late in the contact, in the anticipation. They don't think together. And the second goal, yes, they are outplayers, but outplayed. But still, they don't work together. It's like they don't know how to work together.
There's a manager who wants a team to play a certain way and has been hired to make these changes. And there's a bunch of players that don't really want to buy into that.
Yeah, but
that's a problem. And we talked about it before the game. Is Xabi Alonso changing his philosophy to suit the egos? Mm-hmm. And you'd have to say yes, because he wanted to play more of what he was doing at Leverkusen. It was more of a high press. It was more intensity. He tried that, or has tried it, with some of these Real Madrid players, and they're not buying into it. They're talking about his methods. They're talking about his training. They're blaming everybody else. But that's what players do. They'll throw the manager under the bus. I go back to something Steve McManaman said last week when we were doing Girona Real Madrid, and it really struck me when he said, Girona will try and play, as Celta Vigo, as Elche, as Vallecano. He said, Girona will try and play, and Real Madrid will let you. Real Madrid will let you. And my argument to that is, why are an elite level team like Real Madrid not doing what, when they were at their best, Liverpool and Arsenal and Chelsea and Man City, all these teams, you know, Barcelona even, they've got this high line, but they try and go for press. and they try and win it back.
But do you think
early.
it's due to the coach or it's due to the player who don't want to listen to him?
There's a bunch of players that don't want to go and play this way. They think, because they've had success before, they think the sort of strolling around, let the defenders and Courtois deal with it, and we'll just come alive when we've got the ball sort of scenario. That's what's worked for them before at times. Now, last year it completely came apart. And Ancelotti was getting so frustrated with it, to the point where he was threatening to take Vinicius Junior off the field. Such was his attitude. Start running. You're having to tell somebody on thousands and thousands of dollars a week, start running, or you're coming off. And that's the problem Alonso, one of the issues Alonso has is that he wants to do things, this is only my opinion, he wants to do things in a different way, the way that he thinks is right, but there's a bunch of players that I think he's quickly figured out are not going to buy into that movie with him. So he's having to change the way he does it because of the players, and that is not a good scenario to be in for the long-term future.
I'm going to be short. The message is wrong. You hire Xabi Alonso because you want Xabi Alonso to master everything. So you listen to Xabi Alonso or you don't play. That's what it is. And when you fire Florentino Perez, you should come to the dressing room and say, that guy is the guy. You listen, you shut up, otherwise you don't play. Even if you're a big star, you're going to be on the bench.
Madrid, it's always been about the players.
Yeah, but that's the problem. So don't hire Xabi Alonso if you don't want him to be able to play like he was doing with Leverkusen. That doesn't work like that.
That's my final word too, Luis. But this is Real Madrid, Luis, and this isn't how it works at Real Madrid, is it?
Exactly, Clay. I think you know very well how Real Madrid works from the top to the bottom, and even that we from outside can understand how the dressing room are managed, how the managers should have the last word, should have all the decisions. Real Madrid is a different team, different club, and you need to understand what's happening around. Once you understood that, things will go well, or probably you will get the door or the back door. We've seen it so many times, and we are going to continue seeing, because this is the way that this club is run, and we have to understand it. Xabi Alonso is trying to do, and I agree with the guys, the best of it, trying to have that idea, trying to bring something different, but not all the time works the way that you want.
No.